So everybody, welcome. This is Coffee Talk with McDermott Library. This is a continuation of a series that we started in the before times, before the pandemic, where we just give people an opportunity to meet with us and chat. Obviously, going online has changed our format, so we select a topic and we chat about it for up to 30 minutes, probably less than 30 minutes, and then we ask questions and answer questions, and it's kind of a get to know you with a topic agenda. So this week's topic is Asian American and Asian literature, and has been spearheaded by our head of information literacy and instruction, Loreen Henry. So Loreen, why don't you tell us what is in the library that we need to know about for Asian literature?
Well, welcome, and I'm really excited about this topic. Not only do I love Asian cinema, I love Asian literature. I haven't gotten into the manga and anime and graphic novels, but I definitely have authors that I like. So today what I thought I would do is introduce just a few of those books that I've read over the past year and tell you about a couple forthcoming ones. And then I wanted to let you take a look at our Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders LibGuides and let you know about some of the resources that McDermott Library has. And I mentioned that there are anime and graphic novels, and we have those in our collection. So if you're into that or you would like to get into it, we definitely have you covered. All right, so I'm going to not share my screen. I'm going to pretty much talk. The first thing I wanted to get to show you, I've put the link into the chat, and so I'm going to go to that LibGuide and get you to take a look so that you'll see the information. All right, so I'm going to copy the link. And Chris, do you need me to share my screen?
If you think it would be useful for our audience now or in perpetuity to see what you're seeing, then yes.
Oh, all righty. So let me get that link in, and then I will share my screen. Okay. So here we're looking at the Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders in the United States LibGuide. It's sort of a research guide, tutorial, information resources page that the library thought would be useful. And what I did was take a look at all kinds of information about these groups in the United States. We have background information. There will be some databases that we thought would be useful. So here we have a little bit about what the database collections would involve. Then we have the types of databases that would be useful for you to look at if you wanted to study or get to know on a personal level for, leisure, if you wanted to get to know more about these groups. Also, we have here the arts and popular culture is another tab. And for this one, I wanted to make sure that you knew we have now at the University of Texas at Dallas, the Crow Museum of Asian Art is an acquisition or a donation really from the Crow family. And it's one of the most fantastic museums that you could go to. I really enjoy going. I think I go maybe 4 or 5 times a year. The collections are always evolving. I do believe they're now back to fully open, just as the Dallas Museum of Art is also fully open.
So just to interrupt, the Crow collection, their home, I guess, is that connected to the DMA or is it adjacent to?
It's across the street from it, which is so convenient. They're both separate entities, in downtown Dallas in the Arts District, and they're across the street from each other. And then diagonally down the road is the Nasher. So it's like you can go to three things all in the same place. The Nasher is the only one that has a cost to enter, but the Crow is totally free. And the DMA, although it solicits for membership, their collections you can go in and see for free. So I thought that was one thing you might want to be aware of. Also, I love our art store database. I go in there sometimes just to look at art, but I also find things that I can attach to presentations. So that's also a great one to be aware of. So this would be Art Store Database. If you're on the McDermott Library website, library@utdallas.edu, you would click on Databases and then the letter A, and this would take you into Art Store. So that's a really good one as well. But of course, if you get into the Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders LibGuide, you will see all these links and be aware of what we have to offer. But before I go on, we have some guests. So I'm going to ask Chris and Matt, what are you aware of in Asian literature?
Well, not very much. I'm aware of things that make, I guess, media buzz recently, like the Crazy Rich Asians series, which that author has been taking off a lot.
Yeah.
I know that there is a lot going on. There's sort of a surge in popularity with K-pop and manga and a lot of Asian culture pieces. Hello, it looks like Misu just joined us.
Hello.
Ellen has her hand up. I don't know if that means that Ellen.
Yeah, I just want you to know that the Crow Collection Library of about 12,000 volumes is coming to McDermott in about 2 years. And I recently duplicate checked about the first 700 titles, and about 19% of it is dupes, but still stuff that we will get in the future.
I was really hoping you would comment about that. So at some.
Say that again.
I said I was hoping that you would mention that.
I'm going to go, but I just wanted you guys to know that.
Well, thank you for mentioning that. That's exciting. I'm looking forward to that as well.
It has art, philosophy, and some religion in it. I didn't see any literature.
Someone should give us a bigger building to put it in.
I laugh, but we're heading in that direction at McDermott Library. So, Matt or Misu, are you into any specific authors in the Asian literature genre? Or you prefer not to comment?
Oh, I guess I don't have much to add as far as literature specifically. I have a lot to learn in that area. I know that philosophy can be a really interesting topic. I would say my experience is more in film and TV. So I think a lot of interesting film has come from there. Of course, recently, to be up with current events, you have to mention Squid Game was very popular. So yes. I got swept up in that very, very much so.
A guilty pleasure. I haven't seen it as yet, but so many people are talking about it, so I must take a peek. Although I'm terrified by the the reality show aspect, but it should be fun.
Yes, and really, to me, like the horror genre is always interesting. There's like unique takes on that, and sort of gritty dramas. So I enjoy the film aspect.
It's always followed like the Greek theater convention in that bloody things happen off stage and you hear about them. And that's very not consistent with what I've seen of Asian cinema.
Oh, yeah. I always think of Centipede.
Both joined us from the Technical Services and Acquisitions Department. I was wondering if either of them would like to add anything about their experience with Asian literature, Asian sources.
Yes, please.
Sure. You know, I grew up in Korea, so I have special attachment to Korean literature. And as Matt said, recently I'm watching lots of movies produced in Korea. So in terms of literature, recently I cataloged lots of Korean books translated in English. So I saw that there are an increasing number of Asian literature translated in English, and I'm so excited about that. I cannot. I don't read much of other countries in Asian literature. So, but yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you.
And I think it's really interesting too how something can go viral and open up visibility to a whole country's media output. Like
Right.
I remember when so Korea specifically it just seems to be in the news a lot. As in my experience, I'm running into a lot of Korean media with K-pop being very popular, but also when Parasite won Best Film.
Right.
I'm seeing a lot more Korea on Netflix, and I just think that's a really beautiful thing when somebody one or two projects will break through and it expands awareness of a whole region.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it different or difficult to get foreign or Asian material and from an acquisitions or cataloging standpoint?
I do know that. Oh, hold on, gotta tilt
Go
this
ahead,
down.
Jade. Yeah.
I do know that Ellen and Matt McCalca especially have been ordering a lot of poetry and stuff. Matt McCalca tends to order a lot of the manga type of stuff, which is that collection that seems to be growing pretty quickly. And honestly, because it has become so popular in America, that you're able to find those things most of the time. There may be a few that you're kind of jockeying around trying to see where you could possibly get them, but for the most part, it's pretty available. Most of the larger publishing houses like Gobi and stuff really seems to it may be a translated version of it, but you're able to get those items, so which is nice.
Is that different from, say, 10 years ago?
Oh, completely. Yeah.
I could imagine.
Yeah, because like 10 years ago, the only place that you would be able to find that stuff really would have probably been on Amazon, or having to go to like Casalini and ordering it from them because they're all over the world.
Excellent. Thank you, JD.
Thank you.
So I'm curious, why did you choose Asian literature as the theme of today's session?
Well, you should ask. Guess what this is? Lunar New Year.
I see.
Yes. And because I'm the one who is archiving, I created an archive in the Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders in the United States LibGuide. I thought it would be interesting and maybe a really good thing to highlight during this month, as well as plug in our Lunar New Year celebration that will be coming on the 11th in the McDermott Library lobby. So I thought this would be very good. And I am aware that, it's also going to be Black History Month all month. And so we're also going to do a book display on the second floor near the New Books collection. So we're trying to cover all the different cultures and be very inclusive in our selections. But yes, that is why I selected that for today.
Yeah,
it's the year of the tiger, isn't it, this year?
It is the year.
Yes, tiger year, right. Actually, my mom and my mother-in-law, they were born in the tiger year. So.
Oh, wow.
Can we do a quick round of? Can we do a round of which year you were, or which animal? I don't want to say
I
what year.
have the bull. I'm
The
bull,
bull.
which is so significant because I'm also Taurus. May and bull.
I
I
was
was,
born
oh,
in
go
the
ahead.
monkey year.
Monkey?
Oh, the
Monkey.
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 I'm also a monkey.
Same
You're
here.
fun.
I was born in November, and was born in the year of the dragon.
Ooh,
Ah,
that's a good one.
very nice. Very nice.
I grew up just so proud to be born in the monkey year. I was a big fan.
That
of
probably
monkey.
means that you and I and Misu are born within a year of each other.
Oh,
You learn
Or
something
one of
every
us
day.
is 12 years older, and just well preserved.
well observed. Oh, that's great. Yeah. But I better go on and introduce you to some of the books that I've read and tell you about a couple forthcoming ones so that we can get going with our wonderful talk. So I'm going to stop sharing here so that I can go back and find my links. And each time I tell about a book, I'm going to put the link into the chat. So there is the link for the LibGuide for the Asian American and Pacific Islanders topics. So if you're interested, the next one is going to be a link for a book that I read, and it really touched me because the author spoke about some of the things I felt. And I love H Mart. I live in Plano. And there's H Mart at Parker and Avenue K. And I'm thinking that by now they are probably super aware of me, the woman who comes in with her bag and keeps putting things in once a month, once a week, or anything like that. Yes. So this title is called Crying in H Mart, and it's by Michelle Zahner. Oh, you know it?
Yeah, I heard about it. I didn't read it, but I heard about it, and oh, it was, yeah. Oh, please go ahead.
Okay. I'm so excited. You're excited about it. Well,
Yes.
of course, if you are on TikTok or any social media platform, you probably know about Japanese Breakfast. Michelle Zahner is the rock star. It's an independent rock group, and that's what she's known for. She is also a foodie, sort of like me, a Korean American, and she's also a writer. And in the book, she really talks about the grief and the complications of a mother-daughter relationship. So all of these points touched me, and I just related to this book. She writes the book as sort of a memoir and sort of to get closure about her relationship with her mother, who passes away from cancer. And she talks about the foods they shared, family dynamics, just her relationship with her mother. And I thought she wrote so well, and it was both funny and heartwarming. So I highly recommend this book. And so you will enjoy reading it. So the next one.
I have tears in my ears when I hear about that. Yeah. Yeah,
Good.
thank you. It sounds so great. Yeah.
Yes, I really recommend it. I enjoyed it. And at one point, she was talking about the relationship cooking with her mother. And I was like, it brought back everything. And I was like, don't cry, read your book, stop crying. So it's really powerful writing. Yeah. So my next book is going to be by a very well-known author, and I think that the pictures are not coming up as I hoped they would in the chat, but at least the links are there. So Kazuo Ishiguro is from Nagasaki, Japan, and he writes a huge amount of books, but his most recent one that I read in summer, I think. I read it June, yeah, late spring, summer. It's Clara and the Sun. And so he's Japanese. He grew up in Britain, and he has 8 books that are very well known. 2 of them were made into movies. The Remains of the Day, I think, was with Kristen Scott Thomas. And Never Let Me Go was kind of a futuristic science fiction-y book about children are being produced so that their body parts could be given to the rich who are needing kidneys or hearts. And I thought, this is horrible. But he wrote it in such a good way. And now with Clara and the Sun, he goes back to that science fiction fantasy kind of futuristic topic. So she's an artificial friend. So if you live alone, you can design and get your own artificial friend. And Clara has great observational skills. She can look at a scene and take it all in. And as an AI, she's then reflecting it back and being this perfect robot that can be very sympathetic and empathic to the person. So she's just living this life as an AI, and maybe she's getting feelings. And so it opens up this question of, can artificial intelligence learn? Of course they can. Everybody has a an artificial friend who turns on the lights or turns on the TV, right? We won't mention any names. So this one is looking at that idea of AIs having feelings and the ability to learn and interpret. So that one is very, very good. Of course, I could not do this without mentioning Ocean Vuong. And he was the author of Night Sky with Exit Wounds and was on the bestsellers, New York Times bestsellers, for a very long time. The most recent one, the On Earth We Are Briefly Gorgeous. And I took this book because I just thought, this is such an interesting title. On Earth We Are Briefly Gorgeous. And so it's about how we see ourselves, how others see us. It's fiction. And so, and with a lot of memoir and autobiography in it as well. So I don't know if any of you have read this one. No? I recommend it too, because he is searching for meaning and understanding, trying to understand death. So this is another one. I don't know why I was drawn to the topic of mothers and death over the past winter, but I'm going to break out of that and read more different things. But that's what the book was looking at. And it's a poetry collection. So I know Dean Safely was briefly here and mentioned that. And Matt also mentioned poetry. So Asian poetry. And the most recent book is After Parties by Anthony Viasna. So, and this is kind of really, we've lost a really interesting, good new voice because he died in 2020. And After Parties is Cambodian American 20, 30 somethings are looking at their lives against the lives of their parents. And so it's a collection of short stories. And you don't often find literature about Cambodian Americans either. And so I wanted to include this one. And so many of our parents or grandparents went through the Great Depression. And so he's looking at the Cambodian Khmer Rouge era of genocide. So he's looking at his parents having gone through that, and now here are their children and grandchildren, and there's just a lot of complexity. He was also beginning to discover his homosexuality and that he was different also, and the acceptance that he would never get in his culture because it's not very well understood. So I thought that one was also one that I would recommend. And we do not have this one as yet. It's called To Paradise, and Hania Yana Jihara, I hope I'm saying all these right. This is a forthcoming book. She is an American author, and she is known for The People in the Trees and A Little Life. A Little Life was on the New York Times bestsellers, and it was very popular. And so this is new. It's fairly new. It's forthcoming. And so this is an alternative version of America in 1893 in New York, and how different people from different cultures, she writes different short stories about how they're experiencing this time period. So she starts with 1893, and then she'll go to 1993, and then she goes to 2093. So it's interesting, all those different time periods, and she selects significant occurrences, both social or historical. And so the first story is looking at, I think it was a young man who is experiencing that time period. And then in 1993, she looks at a young Hawaiian man who is living with his older, wealthier partner, and they're going to experience AIDS in that era. And then in 2093, there are plagues, and there's a totalitarian rule, and people are trying to navigate this kind of very strange and different time period coming out of wealth and social evolution and equality, and now you're dropped into this very changing time period. It's almost like going through the 2020s, but it ends on a very positive note, and I liked that about it. I signed up to read drafts before pre-pub drafts. The things I did at the American Library Association conference maybe 15 years ago. So those are the books that I wanted to introduce. One forthcoming, and I'm hoping the library will purchase it. It's going to be significant. And then the others that I recommended, and there are also titles within the Asian American and Pacific Islanders LibGuides. So any last thoughts?
Wow, it's an amazing list. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you are welcome. I'm glad you were here to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I missed the recommendation that's forthcoming because I have Gobi open to order.
Ah.
To give it to JD to order.
To Paradise.
To give it to Misu to catalog. And
So
giving to all of us to read. I didn't hear the title. I was on the phone with somebody.
The title and author is the last message in the chat, to Paradise by Anya Yanagera.
I wanted to make sure I got it right.
Yeah. It's of course I'm reading a pre-pub draft, but you know, the story, I just liked the idea of these different time periods, and it's looking at the same thing, human relationship.
So they have lists this month for other ethnic groups other than Asian. So
Yes.
I'm not sure how many. I'm sure JD knows this, but there's just a lot of literature coming out that is addressing minority groups.
Yes.
I think that's a really great trend. You know, just you I guess you didn't realize how much of classic literature was all very white, very Euro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you want this in paper? Or
Well, I heard that it will be an ebook and an audiobook, and I do believe, let me see if I can remember, the author will be reading. I always like to hear about audiobooks where the author does the reading.
Me too.
Yeah.
I
Well,
love audience.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have access to that right this second, but I do have it as an ebook or as paper. And this it was received by YBP 13122. That's pretty good.
Wow, that is
It's
new.
reviewed everywhere according to this. So
Yes, yes, lots of great
This-
reviews.
well, let me just order paper.
Okay, it's a keeper, definitely. It will be one of those titles that will make lists and probably be made into a movie. I wouldn't be surprised.
Do you want me to put any of your names on this so that JD can send you a notification, or all of you, or one of you, or what?
I've read it, so I'll let the others have first dibs.
Anybody interested?
Sure. Sure, please add me as a notify user.
I doubt with my course load, I doubt I will have time to read it, so I don't want to get in the way of someone else.
Is JD or Misu interested?
I want to try other book first, so yeah, I will let.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much, Ellen. We are at the end of our scheduled time, so unless there's any other comments, this has been a really nice coffee chat. We will continue having these on a monthly basis with different topics, so I hope that if you're available, you can join us, and have a good rest of your day.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, thank
Enjoy
you.
your day and prepare for tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.